What's good, people? We are the Blasian Circle, 3 married couples made up of 6 friends who share in the experience of being in Black and South Asian interracial marriages.
It's a circle of unity and trust where we share our thoughts and lived experiences. Come join our circle.
Hello guys.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of the Blasian Circle.
Yes.
Good to be here. How's
Yeah.
everyone doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking
Good.
forward to
Looking forward to
not bad
talking about
today's
this one, aren't we?
discussion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be a really good conversation today.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about myths and misconceptions
Yeah.
about Black and Asian couples, relationships.
Yeah.
So this is a really important one for us because I guess I'm just shocked at like how much people have to say
Yeah.
and how much people think and jump to conclusions about Black and Asian relationships and the type of people who get into these relationships.
Yeah.
So today we've got a bit of a different setup. We've got in the bowl in front of the lovely Zakia and Riz. There we go. Very QVC. Thank you. Don't ask me where the bowl's from. I think I picked it up somewhere. We have some myths and misconceptions about Black and Asian relationships that we have personally heard,
Yes.
Yeah.
that have been said to us,
Yeah.
that we have heard been said about other people,
Yeah.
that we've picked up. Some of them I picked up on like YouTube comments and
Yeah.
stuff like that as well.
Mad.
So let's get to it.
Yeah.
So Zakia, do you want to start?
ladies
Pick,
first.
pick one up from the bowl.
Right. Here we go.
Oh, it's a red one.
It is a red one.
It's a red one, meaning that it's going to be for the gals.
The
Oh
girls.
gosh. Okay. So this one is the Asian heritage is erased in Black and Asian relationships and future generations.
Yeah.
Okay. Over to the ladies.
Who's going to kick us off?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting one because I do think you do question that because when you've been so for me obviously I'm Pakistani. I've been brought up in a Pakistani household, and so that's the only culture, the real culture that I really know, other than obviously British culture and all those kind of things. But they're not really. You kind of dip into it and then dip back out. I think there is when you're going into mixed relationships, you do sometimes think, oh, how are you going to bring kind of your culture into this? And I think that's definitely a thought that kind of crosses your mind. But the whole concept of it being erased is just it's just a weird thing because I bring the culture, like I am like that's who I am. My culture is also a part of me and a part of my identity.
Absolutely.
My husband's is the same, and so therefore, how does it get erased?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how that even happens. And so sometimes I think these things can kind of just be kind of put out there to cause, I don't know, to create some kind of like validity in what they're trying to say without there being any kind of thought.
Yeah.
And so for me, I know when people say this, and they say this to scare you, to be like, oh no, but what's going to happen? What about the future generations? What, you're going to lose this, and it's there as a scare tactic. But the fact is, like, I'm Pakistani. That's my culture. My husband is Caribbean. That's his culture, and that will be something that we will put through into future generations. That's just who we are. We can't take that away. So as far as I'm concerned, this is completely a myth. And no
Myth.
Yeah.
debunked.
Well,
For effect, I would tear it up, but I'm not going to do
No,
that.
we're not.
not to take over the ladies' question, but I think it's equally important that both partners respect the fact that that both cultures need to be cultivated and respected and loved and engaged to ensure that both cultures and heritages are not lost. So
In fact, actually, what I will say is that we're more conscious than if we were
Very
Yeah.
true.
in if we were with somebody of the same culture.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that we're much more deliberate about what we do.
Yeah.
We're much more aware about it,
Yeah.
and we want to be able to make that. Like this, it's important to us. It's so important to us that we need to make sure that it actually happens, and we're in full control of that. And so I would,
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate.
hit me.
as he does.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of truth to it, to the myth.
Oh,
I do, in the sense that, and I don't actually think it's even just specific to, Black and Asian specifically. I think it's, where a lot of us are immigrant children or second generation
immigrants. Our parents came to this country from wherever they all would have gone to, the US or whatever Western nation they would have gone to.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we create our own subcultures of I guess our own, of being mixed amongst all of those cultures.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's elements of our original cultures that are lost. For instance, I cannot speak Tree very well. Now that might be my own. My wife's nudging me and saying, "Shame on you. Our kid's only going to speak Punjabi."
Sucks to be you, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's funny though, because that's something that wasn't passed on.
Speaking to the mic.
I'm sorry. I was saying that's quite funny because unfortunately that's something that wasn't passed on, so that's got lost. Unless you,
I don't think it's lost, but the more and more
You
it
are
is
further
not.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, for
yeah.
example, if I don't miraculously in my lifetime learn Tree, and clearly she's been learning
For
Tree.
those of you that don't know what I'm saying, it's rather okay.
Yeah.
I think people very well know the African inflections. But yeah, I think if I don't miraculously learn how to speak Tree in the next in my lifetime, then that element of language might be lost. In fact, it may even. I think this is what's clear. Whoever has very strong elements or very tangible elements of their culture within that marriage will inevitably pass that on to their next generation. And if another doesn't have those elements, then those elements unfortunately will get less. So right now, between myself and my wife, she's up on me because she cooks South Asian food. Yeah. She speaks a South Asian language. I don't cook Ghanaian food, and I do not speak the Ghanaian language. So if anyone's culture is gonna be lost out here,
you're under threat.
You know what I mean? So mom, aunties, like please. Please.
I think you've fully converted because now you're making recipes.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Anyway.
It's an interesting one. I completely agree. I think that as generations go, and as you say, once we've sort of moved away from the motherland, things do get diluted. But it's an interesting point because. So what you've just said, right, about how actually, a lot the Punjabi Pakistani influence is very strong in the household. But it's interesting because if you look at the actual myth itself is around the Asian side gets lost. Yeah. And I think there are two sort of facets to that. One is that a lot of mixed race people where one of the cultures or races is black, society tends to just perceive them as black. Yeah. So I think that's one part of it, and linked to that, I think it's also that the black community is so othered that actually once you're in any way mixed with this group of people, you're just in that group now.
Yeah.
And so I think that I don't agree with it, but I can understand why someone goes there quite quickly in their minds. But I think it comes to your point, to what all of you are saying actually, which is you just got to be intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, Sai, if you want that balance,
bro.
go get it.
They will
Go
have
get
that.
it.
They will have the day of the week name for sure. Kofi, Kwesi,
Exactly.
Yao, Ekua, all of that.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening.
Clear.
We look forward to your jollof in due course.
Yes.
Cool. Anything to add, Riz? No. I think we've covered it. I think we've covered it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, Riz.
Are we passing the bowl along?
Yes,
Riz is
I will
next.
pass it.
Oh,
Am I
okay.
next? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I pick the green one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Go for it.
Go wherever you want.
Okay. What have we got here?
The suspense.
This girl cheats at games, I don't know why she's hiding.
Proper does it, seriously. We've all been burnt by Riz's tactics.
Thank you.
Whatever. Okay, hold on, I'm going to read it. Oh, this is different. Okay. So it's easy for people in black and Asian relationships because they're both ethnic minorities and their differences are immaterial.
So who? Because obviously, like I said, all of these questions are something that we've experienced. So who was this? Whose contribution was this?
I picked this
Yeah.
up in like comments.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
On
Yeah.
YouTube.
YouTube.
Various videos about,
Mm.
and I find this very interesting.
Interesting.
Because I think anyone
Yeah.
who comes from an ethnic minority knows
Yeah.
that culture is important.
Yeah.
And it is strong,
Mhm.
and I think it's interesting because it slightly contradicts your point earlier, Si.
Okay.
But actually, I think a lot of immigrants, they hold on to their culture far more
Yeah.
strongly
Oh,
Definitely.
100%.
than they would
Definitely.
than if they were staying in their original
Yeah.
country.
Definitely.
I think this is a complete myth, and I think it's really blasé to be like, oh, you're a shade of brown, so surely like you just figure it out. Right?
You're
know?
BAME.
Exactly.
You're
What do you
all the
mean?
same.
You're all the same. You're all the same. Yeah, and I think personally, and this is maybe a bit controversial, but I would even venture to guess that it's sometimes more difficult when you've got two ethnic minorities
Yeah.
coming together because, again, we've all been born and raised in this country, I think.
Yeah.
So actually, the English-British culture is something that we're all very familiar with. So actually, there's not so much that you're likely to that's likely to be alien if you were to be with someone from, who was English. Whereas from another community that actually you've not really had much exposure to, there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of adjusting.
Definitely.
So I think that's quite an ignorant thing
Yeah.
to
I
say,
was
but
gonna
ill-informed. I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say you're being very polite. I think it's ignorant. I don't, because I think it's a bizarre thing to think that because you generally look the same, your experiences are the same.
Yeah.
So whoever
Yeah.
said that, no.
Even within the same, so the two of you are from Pakistan, but actually your families are from
culturally
different.
different. That's still
Yeah.
different.
Exactly.
Because she's Punjabi and we're Urdu speaking, so it's a completely different way in
Yeah.
terms of we interact. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the only way I can see that person trying to go, oh yeah, there must be similarities, is only in the experience of being minorities
Yeah.
in this country. Like we're not
Yeah,
we're not
that's
white
true.
British.
That's
so
true.
we share that, and we share the othering that can come from that, or maybe even racism or positive experiences that whatever that can come from that. But yeah, I can't. Other than that, I don't.
Yeah.
We're no.
Yeah. Especially in the specific context of like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think that works.
Yeah.
No. Oh, and also see our earlier episodes on cultural differences.
Yeah.
Yes, and you will learn that there are many cultural
there are
differences.
what we
that you have
mean.
to figure out.
Who am I
Help now.
passing it to now?
Let's go, Si. We're
Cool.
going in a direction now, aren't we? Whoa.
About to throw my mic away. Sure. No, that's all right. Go on. I'll do one for us, lads.
Go for
Yay.
it.
Here we go.
Let's.
Let me guess. Can I guess? Can I
Which
guess?
one do you think it is? Wait, no, wait. Wait, Riz.
No.
Oh, thanks, Riz, for spoiling it.
Oh,
Come on.
I thought it was the one where okay, it's not that one. The
Yeah.
submissive one. Is that not it?
No.
Okay,
No.
Okay.
But that okay.
Yeah.
So black guys are only in it for the money.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Who said that?
That's what I want to know.
That's in it. Who said that?
Who's saying that?
Who said that?
Guys, this was presented to me.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
I'm
yeah, it was a shock. A shock. A shock on many levels. One, because it demonstrated or it highlighted what their perception of me was, how they saw me, which was offensive. But just so the level of ignorance was just so mind-blowingly shocking to me. It was how can you even like there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And I think it highlighted that they're ignorant, and because they had no direct access to the community, outside of even our interactions, as limited as they were, it showed that the image of the culture and community that comes from media, whether it be printed, whether it's radio, whether it's visual via TV, it gave them that belief that your economic standing is your priority in every aspect of your life, even in your relationships. And you're trying to essentially marry up in this area so that you can now do better for yourself. And there's a lot more to this that I'll most probably discuss later on. But my reaction to it was, you clearly don't know me. Because if you really understood me, you'd know that first of all, this wouldn't be worth any type of money to me. Trust me. Like, there's no amount of money that you can tell me that I would accept where I'm gonna be treated a particular way, give up a lot of my own personal desires with regards to being accepted by my in-laws and all of those desires that you have for yourself, just for something that can be spent. And you're suggesting that you don't even think I have the potential to make whatever money you believe I would want in order to trade.
Or already have it.
Exactly.
Because that's another thing.
That's another thing.
That's a perception that black people are just automatically poor. Like, you could, an Asian lady could, or an Asian man or lady could marry a more wealthier black person.
And
newsflash, that is possible.
And that's quite
it's facts.
That is possible. It can go the other,
I agree. Like,
or it could be an equal wealth level. It's like
my wife definitely didn't marry a poor guy. And she didn't marry someone who needed to latch onto her ankles so that he could climb the ladder. Like, do you know what I mean? But again, I looked. There was two ways, because obviously there's that aspect of offence but then also it's the sadness in what's not understood, and that was really unfortunate. But again, I took it as a lesson to learn from, and the only way that I could dispel that particular myth was to demonstrate to this particular individual, look, there's just no truth in that.
You showed him your bank account.
I want to go as far as that.
Demonstrate.
Let me show you something.
But I tell you what, they can look at Zach and realize, look, she's doing okay. You know what I mean? She's doing all right. She's being taken care of.
Because like,
you know
every
what I
week,
dog,
is she not on ASOS shopping?
Listen, I wish you had.
Can somebody mute her mic?
Yeah, exactly.
Mute the mic.
No.
You're your sister code.
Mute the mic.
You're right on that. If they were to watch this episode, they would know. Look, Zach's addiction
She's
is
okay.
taken care of. Yeah.
I'm okay. I eat well.
Yeah, exactly.
I live in a nice house. It's okay.
She's doing well.
Yeah,
They are doing well.
God has been
Thank
good.
God.
Funny, man.
Yeah.
I
But
think
yeah.
I think it's sad though that they have that kind of warped view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole to view black people as poor. You just kind of go like, all right, so what is that? How you view your colleagues? And you're like your neighbors. And like just this. What do you even say? You know, what can you say to
it does take the breath away. Like when because you're actually trying to think, how do I respond to that type of view? And that's why I say it's so layered, because there's a backstory behind how someone can even perceive you to be like that. That, you know what? All I'm interested in is, I want you for your money. Like, do you know what I mean? Just gold digging from the jump.
It's got to sell your soul.
Exactly.
Sort of approach as well.
Because
how
if you understood what you go through, especially as the black aspect or the black side of the relationship, you go through so much rejection, and on many levels of just being disregarded as a human. To think that somebody would just do that just to try to scale up is just for someone to think for me it indicates they have no idea what the experience is like.
But that's the further disregarding you as a human anyway.
Exactly.
It's like you have a price.
Exactly.
So
this is it.
You know,
exactly.
Like here's a price to either go away or you're just doing this because it's gonna make your lifestyle better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
yeah, that was
It's interesting to learn somebody's psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a broader theme probably throughout all of the myths that we're talking about, which is just about sort of cheapening the relationship. Just as an attempt to disqualify it. But this sort of thing particularly, as you say, it's just to have this view that all black men are that callous, that desperate, that conniving. It's just like, as you say. Anyway, by the way, like for us, we're walking on this fine line of like you want to call things out, but you don't want to be overly, whatever, critical, like you're critical or whatever. But it's just like actually, like if you're living in a multicultural society, you should be interacting with enough people to be able to challenge those views. Right. So let's just stop that, please. Okay, next.
Let's pass that over to DJ.
Thank you.
The voice has hands.
Whilst you're doing that, actually, we've had a few comments about DJ and I being off screen.
I mean, where are you?
Yeah,
where are we? We are in the room. We can confirm we are in the room. So this is for our YouTube listeners. Spotify and all the other podcasts, obviously, you won't be aware of this. DJ and I are off screen, nothing to do with the black and Asian element of our relationship, which people can understand immediately, actually, and it's important to say that. So this is all to do with the nature of DJ's work, and we just made a decision that it's best for us to be off screen. I did trial being on screen, but actually we kind of came to a joint decision that it worked better for us to be both of you off.
Kind of felt nice,
and the four of our co-hosts have been very gracious in
thank you, co-hosts,
in accommodating us. So thank you as always.
Family.
We believe in the unity of marriage.
Come on,
that's it. Samuel, you are
Something
something else.
So good.
Right.
It's another boy
Shall
one.
we read the next one?
Oh yeah.
It's not a boy one. You don't want a boy
We
one.
just did a boy one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
So
so
we're
this
gonna
is
alternate.
out.
Do it go on?
Man,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
listen to it.
Well, we
Sorry, I told him he can select whatever he wants.
No worries.
Two men weren't listening to it.
Anyway.
we look forward to our marriage episode.
Listening.
No, now we need a friendship episode.
Yeah, we do.
That is violating too.
Terrible.
Right, let's hear it.
All right. Only Asian girls who dye their hair and wear tight jeans dates black guys.
Right, okay.
This is solid. Go on, sorry.
No, this
I don't wear tight jeans.
Yeah, but
What,
look,
in the mic this?
yeah, look.
Oh, I don't actually wear tight jeans.
Yeah.
I'm with a black guy.
I mean, I'm sure I've seen you wear
Oh,
tight
man.
I've
jeans.
seen you wear
You
jeans.
do wear
Yeah,
tight
you
jeans.
At least
do.
once.
Yeah,
You
you wore tight jeans from
Okay.
our wedding.
Okay.
Please.
It's true.
Come on, what are you playing
It's true.
Well, is everyone here trying to
must
prove
have.
this?
And your hair was dyed.
Oh, it's over.
All right, Zaki, I think this one's for you to explain.
This one was me, and I was just like, wow, okay. I don't actually know, because skinny jeans can only be tight. Like, they're skinny jeans.
Right,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so that wasn't anything
See?
intentional,
It's
and that was
this new
fashion at the
generation
time.
of skinny
What was your
jean
response?
wearers. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Confusion.
That was
That's
generally
not
my response. And then I had my hair dyed, and I still have it dyed. And I'm not gonna lie, it did make me feel like maybe I shouldn't then, because if that's the type because that's the stereotype that you're kind of saying, that this is the type of girl that does that, and I don't want to be associated with that type, because whatever that girl is, they are rebellious, they are not respectful, and everything that.
Oh, that's what he was getting. Or
Yeah.
they were
Yeah,
getting,
I think that's important to call out, right?
Yeah.
So obviously this is not about jeans and dyeing your hair, but
No.
but it's about actually the type of girl who gets into relationships with black men are promiscuous, rebellious, all of the above.
other adjectives
we
that you
sort
can
of
name.
we sort of understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, and so I think that's what it was being said, and so the only way to, I mean, that's too long, right, to say all those other words. So let's just kind of like pinpoint out the most obvious thing possible, which is the way you look and what you wear, and obviously I guess we wear fitting clothes because it looks nicer, or I don't know, you dye your hair because you want to. So I think that was the kind of the trajectory of the thought that this person had, which was, okay, well, you're doing all of these things to show yourself off, so obviously that's the type of girl that you are, and as a result of that, of course you were going to do this. I'm not surprised, and that's the other part of the statement was, well, I'm not surprised because you your hair's dyed and you wear tight jeans. And I was just like, I mean, there was a part of you that doesn't want to do it then because you don't want to be associated, but then there's another part of you that's like, gosh, like, what? Like, is this something? And it's very difficult to defend a position like that because I don't know where it's like it's not educated or it's not like it's not.
It's not reasoned.
It's not reasoned. So I'm just sitting there trying to work out
how do you rationalize that?
I don't. I still can't rationalize it to a point where this particular individual that said it to me, their now respective other half I've seen has dyed hair and wore skinny jeans. So then I was just like, when I told Sam, I was like, this makes me. But I was actually very, very, very angry because I was like, what? Because that stayed with me to a point where we're having this conversation, right? Like it's impacted me in a way that it affects the way that I saw myself at that time, and there's still residual effects of it. So that when I then saw this thing, I was just like, what? Like that, I felt really aggrieved by like, oh, so you're willing to accept it in that, but you weren't, but you made a statement of me like this, like it made me feel very angry. It made me feel very angry. But no.
I think this particular person, whoever they were, struggled to explain. I reckon they were just looking for something to
listen, of course they were, but that's the thing, that's the point, that's what with all of these misconceptions are. It's a form of attack, is a form of kind of making you feel bad about yourself and the decisions that you're making.
Degrade you.
And I think that's the problem. Like if you're going to say something, then let's talk about if you have an issue with what I'm doing, let's have a reasoned conversation about it. Let's not make personal attacks on the way that somebody looks and the way that they dress, because the thing is that does have an impact, no matter how like we live in a society at the moment where you do have like anybody has some issues of self-esteem, and when somebody comes and says that to you,
it's
it
horrible.
really does,
it penetrates.
it penetrates, and I think we've got to be very careful about the things that we say, and be very deliberate about it, because it does impact. So for me, that was one that even now I just feel a bit like
close to.
So here's a question, just in the tone of that question. Do you think that there is a particular type of Asian girl that dates black guys?
Someone who's open-minded.
I
think that's for me. I don't think that there's a type, but I think a very basic prerequisite is that you're someone who actually challenges the norm. You're not someone who's just gonna I'm gonna buy into this concept which is so overtly racist. And he's on top form today, my husband. Sorry, baby. Sorry, I'm picking on him now. I'm sorry. But you have to be someone who's open-minded. But I think outside of that, to try and put people into a box that way, it's very short-sighted. And it's interesting actually, because something I was thinking of is when you see, like, going back maybe like 10, 20 years, films and TV, where you see an interracial couple, maybe a white woman and a black man, she was a certain type of woman. Maybe she's wearing a tracksuit, maybe she's got big hoops, and maybe her hair is like all oiled up in a high ponytail. So I think that there was an image that was perpetuated by media as well.
I think in UK films, I don't know, it's probably a bit different.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry, I should say that. Yeah, exactly. In UK, I don't know what it was like in the rest of the world. We don't have time for that. But
you're making a good point, and that's I think what's most important is that there isn't a type.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's not. There isn't a look or something, and I think it goes both ways. Because as we've seen in previous episodes, in how we've described,
but even if you look at us visually, we're all very different.
We're very different.
We're all very different, and so I think this in itself shows that there's no type.
I'm wearing a top from India right now, guys. Representing.
Not only that, just as we've dug deeper into the community as well, and as we've started to get feedback from people online and etc., and also seen other wider Blindian / Blasian communities, you get to see a really beautiful wide breadth of like different couples. Like there's a lot of the times when I type in your names to tag you on like IG stuff and etc., there's a different couple that come up, and they just got a really beautiful picture. She wears a headscarf, and he's a bold black guy as well, actually, funny enough. but it just looks really beautiful just when I see that image in itself as well. And it just shows the variety of different people and different couples that there are within the community. So it's not specific to just the girl who dyes her hair blonde and wears skinny jeans.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's
Facts.
not absolutely
Okey
cool.
doke.
Over
Who's
to
next?
is that over to me now?
Over to
Samuel, can you?
Yep.
Ooh.
I will be the lovely assistant.
Mhm.
Right, this one's for everyone.
Yep.
Okay, let's open this bad boy up. This all takes some time. Okay, those who marry outside their culture or race don't care about their families
Okay.
and are selfish for making decisions that will hurt their families.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Okay.
Riz?
I'm quite hurt by hearing that.
Yeah.
I think to say that we don't care, for me is really inaccurate because in my own situation, I've always been there for my family. I'm very family orientated. Whenever there's a situation, I've always supported them, and I continue to do that even now while I'm married. With all the kind of backlash and etc. that I've had. So I think that's quite an insensitive thing to say, personally.
Yeah.
And then just to add to that notion of that you're being selfish because you decided to find a life partner and marry them. I think that, again, to me personally, that's more so, I think in South Asian communities, I feel personally love can be seen as more transactional.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's this idea from the parent that they've brought you into this world, not of your choosing, and because they brought you up, that you essentially owe them. Like there's this expectation that there's a criteria, and when you marry, there's a set standard of who you're meant to marry and the kind of person you're meant to marry. And if you go outside of that, you're seen as someone that's rebellious, that's going against the grain, and you're making them, you're really disappointing them. But then again, it questions that the question of being selfish. Who is the selfish party? Because you're having to almost not be your authentic self. You're having to almost fit their criteria and please them as the first thing, and then your second as yourself as a second. But then you're left with marrying someone that you're going to be doing life with, not them. And it's just really quite sad. But also, having said that, because there's this kind of expectation, I think it also narrows your choices. And I think also in my family, there's a lot of people that are still not married, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But for them, they find it hard to find someone because it's so narrow in their choices that they're still left on the shelf, and the parents still wonder, why they're not married. So that's my kind of 2 cents.
Can I just celebrate you even in this regards? I've personally seen it myself throughout our relationship that whenever there is any situation with her family, Riz will fly down. It's fortunate that she even still has a level of access to some extent to still be able to support like that. But you know, she will move mountains to be able to help and support them. Even to the extent where I'm left at home for days by myself. So it's alright. I have Porquito, our bird. But so that notion that they don't care, like it's just no. How could you can't marry the two? And it's often this idea of ultimatums. You do this. So everything is ultimate. That means you don't. And that's no.
But it's a guilt trip.
Yeah.
It's a manipulation. So that's very toxic.
No, certainly, and I agree. That's that. It just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no space for kind of
being yourself.
balance I guess negotiation. And it's very I remember reading in a book that was talking about Eastern cultures and Western cultures, and it was saying how, I can't remember the specific thing it was saying, I'm sorry, but just there's in many ways there's little space for kind of like almost like rationalization. Sorry if I can't. It's just and you know, you can't. And it's just, it's ultimate. It's like it's either this way or that way. You know, you've married this person, so you don't care about us. And that's not necessarily true. That's not, you know, the complete truth in that instance.
Not at all.
No.
And I think off the back of that, it's like for some, this gripes me in a way that I feel so angry about it, because I think it's such a gross misrepresentation of us as individuals. And I think what's so sad is that somehow you're just this one facet of a being, that if you make this decision, then actually you are this. And it's like one decision can change everything about your personality, about the fact that you've grown up in that house, you know, you've lived with them, you've eaten with them, you know, they brought you into this world, all of that. And one decision alone can change you into a selfish, uncaring individual. And that, for me, I am incensed by it, because I just think that's so untrue. That how is it that one decision can just encapsulate everything of who you are? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Not one decision can change everything. Like, okay, fine. If you accept that I've made this terrible decision, okay, fine. That's okay. You can believe that. That doesn't make me a terrible person. It doesn't make me a selfish person. It just means that you don't agree with the decision that I've made. Why? I find it really difficult that why does it have to be attributed to you as a person, where you're being attacked for being selfish, attacked for being not caring? And I get really angry and very sad about it. And I think sometimes, for me personally, I've gone to the point where to prove that I care, I will put myself in a position of harm to make sure that other people know that I care, and I've done it. And it's not, and it's so toxic, because I want them to believe that I care, desperately care, and desperately, you know, want to be back in the family. Just desperate. Samuel will testify to this. I will do whatever that it takes, and I just get so angry that that one decision can just change everybody's perception of me, and they don't remember anything about who I was, what I meant to them, you know, how important family is to me, and how integral I was at the time that I was there. It makes me very angry. And I categorically, if anybody had the audacity to say it to my face, I will say it. I care very much about my family, and by me marrying Samuel does not mean that I don't care about them. They are not. They don't. I can't even reason the statements as how they can even come together. So
how do you even, like, the idea that they're separate points, and it's crazy. And it's like in all different interracial relationships I know, or relationships where there's difference that parents don't agree with, or family don't agree with, or community or culture, whatever. There are very few where there hasn't been lots of effort to try and bring everyone together on board. Like, most of the time it's like, I really want my family with me on this. I really want my community with me on this. And they'll put money and time and safety like on the line to make all of this stuff happen. And in fact, and they can see it sometimes. Other societies can see it, yet you choose to tell this narrative to yourself and to everyone else that you don't care. It's like the level of offense is levels of offense on one thing, but then there's also just anger, and there's just sadness. Like it didn't ever need to be this way.
It didn't need to be labelled like that.
And that too.
I think this was a massive point of learning for me. You know, when we were discussing like cultural differences, understanding this narrative and the reasons behind it was a major thing, because I knew Zach loved her family deeply, but equally so, I also believe, although this statement is made, Zach's family love her deeply. But I was learning about the two different perspectives and understandings of love. And in the Eastern viewpoint, family, it's not about the individual, it's about the collective.
Yeah.
And whatever works best for the collective is what should be done. And if you do anything outside of that, you are then the problem. But in the West, as an individual, you're
Encouraged.
Your individuality matters. Your feelings, your thoughts, your experiences, they matter. Your autonomy matters.
Sometimes to a fault, even.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should deny that. I think that's important to understand. But the way that Zach's life, in the sense of the journey that she's had with her family, could be erased because of a decision that she's made that she believes is good for her, and having analysed and tried the alternative. So we spoke about the Rishtahs and that journey. For the conclusion to be or could be considered that, I think is I don't want to say a shame. I don't think that sums it up correctly. I think it's devastating. It's heartbreaking, and I think one of the episodes are definitely going to touch on this is the hidden costs, and I think one of the hidden costs in that mindset, somebody just painting someone as, well, clearly you don't love your family because or you've done X. From a mental health position, from an emotional well-being position, there are so. If you understood the suffering because of that love, because I love you that much, not being able to see you causes me this harm to the point that I'm willing to do harm to myself to prove to you how much I love you. I think the statement is made from someone who is blinded by their own perspective of what should happen. I think if you're willing to consider both sides, you would have some very valid questions to say, well, if I love this person, why does their feelings not matter to me? Why does their own desires and aspirations for their life not matter to me? Because I love them. And I think this goes back to the collective versus the individual, and trying to navigate how we can balance. We can work this together. But yeah, it's an important question. I'm glad whoever asked that question brought that up, because I think that it's very important for if you're going through this, and you've been made to feel that you don't love your family because somebody said that you didn't do what they wanted you to do. I want to say that we understand, and it's okay. It's understandable that you may feel what you feel, but you know the truth. And someone's perception should never become your truth. You know that you love your family. You know that in spite of what has happened, you didn't make this decision out of a lack of love for your family. A decision that you've made is because you believe that it's good for you. And I hope and pray for all of us in time that as we as a society grow and mature, as we as a community grow and mature, that the truth, the volume of the truth will get louder over time. And people will begin to understand, you know what, that's a misconception that I had. That's a clear misconception that that you didn't love us and that's why you did that. You abandoned us, that's why you did that. And I would hope that over time that all of our communities become more reflective on these barriers that we can sometimes put up. But for me, absolute myth. Clearly, I know how much you love your family, and I know how much it means to you for your family to know that you love them.
100%.
I had to definitely.
Well said.
Just rep that.
I think it's sad though that you're having to constantly prove your love to them, to the detriment of your own self, to the detriment of your own relationship, which is your first and your most important priority. and then it's like, where's the line? Where does the line draw? When does it stop? And it's like,
when is
I'm
it
looking
enough?
I'm even looking at it beyond this question. Like, there's an expectation once you're married to have kids. There's this constant pressure, and I just think. I think there's a lack of boundaries even here, but anyway, I'm getting into more.
Absolutely. I completely agree, and I think that, to your point, it's up to you to draw the line, and you have to take that individual responsibility, because what we're learning through here is people will throw all kinds of stuff at you, right?
Oh, yeah,
and you have to know what's yours and what's theirs, and where to fend your ground. And unfortunately, this particular one, like, as painful, and it is very painful. It's so painful for someone to suggest, but particularly, you know, when you feel like you have lived your life for your family, and someone has the gall to turn around and say, oh, because the person that you've decided to marry comes in this package, therefore you don't care about your family. It's horrible, but unfortunately it doesn't surprise me at all, because the thing is, they've all been conditioned in the same in that same society with those same principles. Like you said, Riz, I mean, something that's really interesting between DJ and I is, you know, so we both had lots of extracurricular activities whilst we were growing up, right? No one ever said to him, well, your parents drove you around and took you for tuition, therefore, you know, you're indebted to them. And it's like, that concept is completely odd. You know, it's just like they were just being a parent. Whereas, you know, there are certain levers within the Asian community, guilt and shame and fear, that keep you in your place and on that path that you're meant to go on, so that, you know, your reputation, your family's reputation, your community's reputation can stay intact. That's a lot of pressure for one person. A lot of pressure. And, you know, I think all of us here are sort of pioneers for change in that regard, you know, and it doesn't lessen the love that you have for your family. Absolutely not. And really, where love is, you will find acceptance. You will find sacrifice and all of the above. Let's go to the next one, Samuel. Let's go to the next one. Do you want to go for blue?
Yes.
Well, look at
Perfect.
Slide.
That's the one directed at the boys. Black men just have a thing for Asian women.
Come on.
you do.
I just want to put it out there. I have a thing for my wife.
Do you know
That's
what
You'd be like, no,
Love
I
you,
don't
baby.
like Asian girls.
Do you know what?
I think it's the rotis. They keep coming back.
She makes good rotis. That's the reason. Just in case anyone didn't hear that question, the question or that myth or whatever statement
is that black men just have a thing for Asian women. I find this one quite interesting.
What, like a fetish or so?
That's
That's kind of how I saw it.
I don't think that's how the question was posed as a fetish. Oh, did you see it like that?
Just have a thing, like, or like a type, like black men.
Like your beeline would be for an Asian girl, like
although people can have personal preferences, and some may prefer Asians, I personally, I didn't. It wasn't a type thing. I never even intended for this situation to become what it became. And to be perfectly honest, if I'm going to be genuinely honest, I only saw myself marrying a black woman. That was.
And he's told me that.
But I'm very honest with my wife, not in a rude way. But it's like, this was not a part of the plan. This was never part of my plan. To marry outside of the community was never something that I envisaged. But I met someone who completely changed me and my way or my even my outlook for my own life. And that was so big that I couldn't walk away from it. I don't believe that it's just a fetish. And
I hope not.
No, because there's beauty. There's beautiful women in all cultures, right? In all of our cultures. And as a black man, I recognize that there is stunning black women,
100%,
strong, beautiful, amazing women. So this was never something that could be looked at as, there's something better outside of my community.
Right.
Absolutely not. Categorically not. No. I met someone who completely changed me and my life and the trajectory of my life. And again, this is where it's testament to you or to Zach's that I actually changed the trajectory in who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. But yeah, for me, this is an outright myth. Total nonsense, if you're going to ask me personally. Because I don't think that this is remotely true. But yeah, that's my 10 cents.
Where did it come from?
We'll get into that in a second. But DJ,
I'm not sure. I mean, I just by every sentiment you shared is exactly how I feel. Like it's yeah. Like I don't know. I probably did. I probably would have seen myself marrying a black woman. Probably.
Yeah, same.
Just because it's what you. Yeah, I don't know. But like, it's again. I came across this woman who like we met and it clicked from day one. Yeah. And like, and then also our values, and then just having like an amazing time with this person, and then it's like she's an amazing person, and then that I'm not walking away from that. Like, I couldn't walk away from that. It was a no-brainer. Like we I love this woman. Like my family love this woman too. And it's like, so no, that's an absolute myth. That is what Sam said. Sorry.
I think I'm gonna just touch on two things. Statistically, and obviously we're bucking the trend in here. But statistically, most black men marry black women. As
pretty strong majority.
Yeah. The research shows. Still, I know that might make us look at some type of way, but most black men actually still marry black women. It's actually 15. I think it's something like 15%. This is, I guess, America, because unfortunately I haven't found no UK statistics about this. But 15. It's only like 15% of black men who marry outside of the race.
Interesting.
And I think that was American statistics. Again, that was separated into white, Hispanic, and other, and other was only 3%. So I don't know. Bringing it back to the UK, there, I once heard, and I'm playing devil's advocate again. So if you're gonna come at me, fine. Come at me in the comments, right? But an older friend of mine once told me this idea, this really warped concept. So going back to talking about, the Hispanic community as well, if you would notice in like the early noughties or late 90s, a lot of hip hop videos had a lot of Latino women in those music videos. And, you even had like Puffy and J-Lo, and it's quite common again in America that you have interracial marriages or relationships between the Latino community and the black community. Right. So, again, going back to hip hop videos, which a lot of UK based black men, black women or people in the UK used to watch. All right. This older gentleman told me, all right, that, black guys were just looking, UK black guys were just looking for, Latino replicants.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I've been called many things.
And Asian girls were the closest thing. So that's the reason why they have a thing for Asian girls. That's what this is what someone told me. Oh, wow. They told me,
Wow.
They actually told me
that. About this?
Yeah, they thought about this. They were like, they told me that. And I was like, okay, you're strange. You're strange. We can still be friends, but you're strange. So yeah, that's honestly what that's a really weird, like, kind of like, bizarre idea that I've heard about it.
Wow.
It's funny. I can see Anna looking at me.
I'm just like, my mind's just like, like when your computer like starts freezing. My mind's just like
Wheel of Death.
Exactly. I can't figure it out. Oh, it is such a shame.
It is.
But it is, as I say, I think it just comes back down to people like trying to make sense of it. And I think that this really challenges all of us, and hopefully those who are listening as well, that when you come across a dynamic or a situation that you don't understand, like, don't try and like fit it into your way of the world of seeing the world. Like that, there are so many different layers to what goes on, things that people don't see, and it's really easy to to demonize people, and it's really easy to angelize people. And I think that just as people, we all have that innate nature in us.
Yeah.
To just kind of go, yes, this is good, this is bad, and and then we just sort of fudge the truth later on. So I've learnt a lot today. So
Yeah,
I'm feeling very challenged.
Is there not room for one more?
Sai,
Listen,
Yeah.
we've got, to
Sorry.
be fair, we've got quite a few, but
We
we are going
have-
to do a second part.
we're gonna have to do a second part.
Yeah,
Sai.
yeah.
So
We're gonna have to do a second part. So you hold your horses,
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
coming. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed the
Yeah.
episode today,
Yeah.
guys. Give us some love,
Yeah.
share, like, subscribe.
Subscribe.
That's it.
Please.
And hit us up in the comments.
Hit us
Yeah.
up.
Listen,
yeah.
share your views. What myths do you have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. it'd be
And
good
what
to
myths
hear.
would you like us to discuss?
about.
Yeah.
And leave us a review as well. Like
Thank
if you're on like Spotify
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
listen to our
Yeah.
podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But yeah, please leave us a review. More people get to hear about us through those reviews.
Yeah.
So
It'd be great. Thank
Yes,
you.
we want to keep sharing love. So
Yeah.
that's it for today, guys.
Till next
Thanks for being with
time.
us.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.